India Conference and Expo 2023, Day 2, technical session on electric and smart mobility. Before dive into the technical presentations, let me introduce today's chairperson for this session, Dr. Pramesh Kumar. Dr. Pramesh Kumar is an assistant professor of civil engineering at IIT Delhi. He received his BTech degree in civil engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee in 2015. MS degrees in civil engineering and industrial and systems engineering from the University of Minnesota in 2020, and the PhD in civil engineering from the University of Minnesota in 2022. He is interested in researching public transit and its integration with emerging technologies. Let us start our today's first presentation and invite our first presenter, Furqan Bhatt, with title Intention to Adopt Electric Vehicles Among Young Adopters in Developing Economy.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Furqan Bhatt. I'm working as a PhD student at the Indian Institute of Science, working with Professor Ashish Verma. And the title of today's talk is Intention to Adopt Electric Vehicles Among Educated Young Adopters in a Developing Economy, and OaxAca Blinded Decomposition Approach. This is a brief outline of today's talk. I'll go into the study context, discuss some of the objectives of the study, delve into the methodology used for the study and how we extracted some of the variables and collected data for the study, a brief overview of the data analysis and results, and some of the conclusions, limitations, and future scope. So going into the study context, like is mentioned in the title of the presentation, we are talking about educated young adults. So why is it important to study the educated young adults? Is because one, India is a country with a good number, I would say a high number of young people. Median age of Indian population is around 28 years, with around 440 million people categorized as millennials, which forms around 1/3 of the population of India, and this is predicted to be doubled in the next decade. Then 2/3 of the country's population is between 20 and 35. Now this gives a context of how young the Indian population is. Next is, why do we need to study their adoption behavior? Like has been mentioned or studied in some of the earlier studies, younger people have been found to be more involved in buying innovative and sustainable technologies. It can be either electric vehicles in this case, or younger people have also been known to be more open to some of the other innovations. For example, mobile banking, internet banking. Some of these studies have shown that younger people are more open to innovative technologies. Next, so it has been also studied that educated Indians have higher propensity to purchase a vehicle right after they finish their bachelor's. So when you study cities like Bangalore or Delhi, where there are a higher proportion of students, if you know their adoption patterns and can understand what they need, you can propel them to buying more innovative or sustainable vehicles. The objectives of the study: the first one is to study the effect of various factors, be it the socio-demographic or the latent factors, on the EV adoption behavior. The second one is, once we know the population, we can segment them and profile them based on the attitudinal, behavioral, and psychological factors. Next is, once we know that these are the different segments of people in our population, we can study the differences in their adoption patterns and analyze the gap in their intention to adopt electric vehicles and study the reasons behind these gaps. So the methodology that we have adopted for this is, first is the review of existing studies to understand the variables that have been studied in the past literature and some of the variables that would be specific to our case and have not been included. Then we conducted a survey. We started with pilot survey, developed a questionnaire, started with the pilot survey, then did a main survey. We collected the data from the students, and then we did data processing and cleaning, and further we went into the main methodology of the study, the data analysis. We used confirmatory factor analysis in our first step. We obtained the factor scores in the second step, and those factor scores were later on used for clustering clustering into different segments of the population, and then we understood the gaps and decomposed the gaps between different clusters. So if you look at so this is our first step, where factor analysis is being done. So we have different factors. We have anxiety, we have risk, we have social influence, perceived benefits, performance expectancy, effort expectancy, and facilitating conditions. We developed a questionnaire to get data for these latent variables. And at the second step, once we have the factor scores for all these variables, we do a multiple linear regression analysis to understand the effect of all these variables on adoption intention. Next up, we have these attitudinal variables, which include attitude, environmental enthusiasm, technological enthusiasm, social image, experience, and knowledge. Based on these, we cluster our respondents into two categories in each case. For example, when we have attitude, we have two clusters. One is the cluster of people who have pro EV attitude, and then there is anti EV attitude. Similarly, we have environmental enthusiastic and environmentally unenthusiastic people, and then technologically enthusiastic and unenthusiastic, and similarly for all these categories of people. So we would know that there will be a difference between pro EV people and anti EV people in their adoption intention. So the aim of this study is to understand is there a gap why is there a gap between pro EV and anti EV? What are the different factors that govern or propel this gap between different classes of people? So these are the questions. These are only some of the latent variables. These are the items that were used to analyze or understand the various factors used in this study. So we collected data at the Indian Institute of Science. We sent an email to all the students, and then we collected data from them. A reward of 5,000 rupees was promised to one randomly drawn student. We got a response of around 656 responses, and the data was collected from February to April. This is the distribution of the data that we have. We had around 74% males and 26% males, which aligns more or less with the socio-demographic data that we have in our campus. And then we included two more variables, that is knowledge and experience, because it has been known that higher knowledge of electric vehicles or experience with electric vehicles does propel gives higher propensity to adoption of electric vehicles. Yeah, so we did factor analysis in our first step. So once you decide that these are the latent variables that you want to study, you have some items behind it on which you collect data, and then you do factor analysis to understand that if the items that we have included in our data do actually load onto the factors. In our case, we see that the loading is quite high onto the factors, and then you have other measures to see if your questionnaire was reliable or not. Those measures are composite reliability, Cronbach's alpha, and average variance extracted. You see that all these variables are higher than all these indices are higher than their threshold values, which shows that the questionnaire was reliable and could be used. Then next up, you see that once you see that for example, let's talk about attitude. We had 278 respondents who were pro EVs and 348 respondents who had anti EV attitude. And then you saw the mean in pro EV attitude, the mean adoption intention was 0.508, and in case of anti EV attitude, the mean adoption was minus 0.422. This shows that the difference between these two means is 0.93, and that is found to be statistically significant, which means that in the next step we can go ahead and decompose this gap based on the different factors that we have included in our multiple linear regression model. Similarly, in all the other cases also, for example, environmental enthusiasm, technological enthusiasm, and others, you see that the mean difference is statistically significant, and then the decomposition can be done. So coming here, you see in the first step we saw that the gap in pro EVs and anti EVs is 0.93. Then we decompose this gap into three factors. There are two ways in which this gap can be decomposed. One is known as twofold blind-Oaxaca decomposition. The other one is the threefold. In this case, we have used threefold decomposition. So there are three variables in it. One is the endowment effect, the second one is the coefficient effect, and the third one is the interaction effect. Endowment effect is the fact that if two groups of people have the same factors, have the same variables or the explanatory variables, then what is the mean difference between these two groups, which we can classify as the explained gap. The second one is the factors which are not included in, and it's called an unexplained gap. Next up, you see that this represents the gap in mean altitude, you see different factors, how much gap is explained by all these factors. You see effort expectancy here explains the maximum gap, as but here constant term is quite high, which shows that a large portion of the gap remains unexplained. So similarly, we have done it for other variables as well. In this case, environmental enthusiasm, technological enthusiasm, social image, knowledge, and experience. So what we saw is that there are significant differences in the adoption patterns based on environmental enthusiasm and technological enthusiasm, and the implication would be that we need to promote electric vehicles as green and innovative technologies, so that you propel early adopters to buy these vehicles. Then you have facilitating conditions. We need to promote and make charging stations more visible. It's not only to for the charging itself, but it has been seen that if the charging stations are visible, people see electric vehicles as more reliable, and can improve in the adoption patterns. And knowledge and experience have been found to be significant factors of electric vehicles, and we need to raise more awareness about electric vehicles. Then safety and reliability, stringent testing should be done so that there are no unwanted incidents of electric vehicles catching fire. So these are the same policy implications, marketing campaigns to promote electric vehicles and as green and innovative technologies, growth and improving the visibility of public charging stations to induce higher adoption rates. There should be a reduction in the prices of electric vehicles, but giving subsidies and incentives might not be good in long run. So there needs to be some other business models, and then testing for electric vehicles to promote safety, and then improving the knowledge. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Furkan. If there are any questions from the audience, please feel free to ask. Maybe I'll ask a quick question. So, I mean, after your study, which was the most important factor do you think should be considered in making people adopt electric vehicles?
What we found is that two factors: environmental enthusiasm. If a person is more environmentally friendly, that is one of the major factors. But behind that, the second factor was the social image. People do actually care about electric vehicles improving their social image in the society. So if we can really market electric vehicles, so this is not based on just this one study, this is based on the other studies that we did in the city of Bangalore from other the total population that we scanned. We found that these two variables are really important in propelling the adoption of electric vehicles.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, if there are none, we will welcome. We'll thank you, Furkan. So our next presenter is Akshay Gupta.
Shall I start?
We are waiting for someone to attend your session, so maybe we'll wait for a couple of minutes. So is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Akshay, can I ask you to present later? If that's okay. I'm sorry about that. So I'd like to invite Samit Sahane for the presentation. Yeah, please. So Samit Sahane is going to present on Smart Mobility and Cities 2.0, advancing urban transportation planning through artificial intelligence and machine learning. Let's welcome him.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Am I audible? Yeah. And well, uh, myself Samit Shahane. I'm a graduate architect from University of Mumbai, and me and my friend we have done this research about smart mobility and cities 2.0, advancing urban transportation planning through artificial intelligence and machine learning. So imagine if on a Monday morning, if you ask this random question to a Bangalorean or a Mumbaikar or a Delhiite who is traveling to Gurgaon by a vehicle, how is the Josh? He will say low, sir, because obviously the reason, the jokes apart, but this is the exact problem that we are facing right now. The big cities of India are facing right now, and it is rising urbanization and rising population, rising migration in the big cities, and it results into the stress on urban mobility system, and the road networks, metro networks, and the rail networks are bombarded with the people, right? So we need to think about it. It's a time that we need to think about it, and I think our government of India is working towards it, but still we need a lot of work has to be done. uh, so through this research I would like to propose few technological approaches which may help resolving this urban mobility related issues. So let's break it down into three question formula, like what, why, and how. So we know what's the issue right now. It's rising urbanization and strain on the urban mobility system. Why it is important? Because obviously delay in work and our decrease in the happiness index in the big cities and mental health issues like anxieties and anything, etc. So we need to obviously resolve these issues. So this is definitely an important thing, and how we can do it. So we have, so like it is a 21st century, we need to think about the technological uh, solutions. So AI, that is artificial intelligence, and ML, that is machine learning, can give us a potential solution to enable intelligent mobility ecosystems through a robust mixed method approaches. So by 2050, according to the research by UN, by 2050 the world's urban population is projected to nearly double the 6.4 million, and this is an alarming situation. And also in India, by 2050, according to the survey, the Indian land will be, the 50% of Indian land will be urbanized. So we need to think about it, and we need to think immediately about it. And the two questions which are rising at this point are, how can machine intelligence enhance predictive analytics and prescriptive modeling for complex urban transportation planning? Like how these AI and ML can help us basically, and what are the most propitious applications of AI ML across transportation domains to accelerate intelligent mobility transformation. So we have done this literature review. We have referred few researches. So I think these are some benefits and challenges we have presented over here. So what AI, what is the benefit of AI? That it improves the demand forecasting, the prediction about traffic congestion, and the variables like economics, land use, and emerging mobility modes, generating precise ridership and like the generating the or knowing the or understanding the footfall of the particular area, and a traffic projection. Challenges is like obviously the algorithmic bias, increasing public transport ridership. ML optimization of schedules, routes, and real-time vehicle allocation provides more reliable, convenient service. This makes transit more appealing and accessible. Challenge is obviously a cybersecurity risk. The connected vehicles and infrastructure are vulnerable to hacking, presenting safety risks to disruption threats. Then proactive infrastructure. Algorithms automatically detect the pavement defects and deteriorating bridges so that uh, we can timely repair the infrastructure. The lack of transparency is a challenge over here. Multimodal connection optimization. AI integrates heterogeneous mobility dataset to provide seamless journeys combining transit, rider sharing, micromobility, and walking. This expands access. So we have done case studies. Uh, so basically, how it works, like in Singapore, they have implemented a world-leading intelligent transport system, that is ITS. So what they have done is they have the system includes 1 lakh sensors and traffic cameras. So basically, they uh, collect data, then they analyze data, and then they make policies, or they design policies. So they collect data from cameras, scanners, junction eyes, expressway monitoring, parking guidance systems, and by this they analyze or they process the data by AI centers or ITS centers, web portals, smartphones, or like other navigation devices, and they use it for lawmaking or policy designing, or it is also, as an architect I would say, uh, it is also helpful for the designing purpose. Like we can, like for example, there is a congestion in a market area, like we can design different access for vehicular different access, or pedestrian access for different, right? So this comprehensive smart infrastructure and data-driven optimization has reduced Singapore's overall traffic index from 1.15 in 2012 to 0.98 in 2020 on a 0 to 3 scale. Second is London's congestion charge. Uh, Basically, in London, they have created zones, ULEZ zones, basically ultra low emission zones, where they restrict uh, few vehicles who are not catering the uh, who are not who basically not catering the demands they have made in the ULEZ requirements. So they restrict these vehicles, and due to this, they applied some daily charges like 15 pounds on them, the congestion charge. So it is generating revenues as well, and traffic, it's reducing the traffic. Then the automated number plate recognition is used for enforcement. Traffic volumes entering the charge zones dropped by 15% after its introduction in 2003. Then we have the Stockholm Dynamic Traffic Management. Stockholm has implemented magnet meters, cameras, and AI to optimize traffic signals dynamically. Then how we can relate this to the Indian cities, basically. So Bengaluru has done the bus priority lanes, through which the average speed of the traffic has increased to 10% and delays have decreased to 15%. In Chennai, they have implemented the metro ridership prediction scheme, where they predict the footfall according to the surveys and according to the history of that particular area and metro station. They collect data, they like exactly the collection of data, analyzing the data, and then making the policies and designing the policies. In Hyderabad, the real-time travel advice apps. In Singapore, the ERP systems. London, like I mentioned, ULEZ scheme, and in Paris, multimodal trip planner. So these predictions, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, that is MTA of New York City, uses Machine learning models integrating demographic, employment, event, and service data to generate detailed ridership prediction across the subway and the bus network, which are 85% accurate. So we can see the uh, effectiveness of AI and ML. So these are the ERPs, basically electronic. Uh, what it does is it's like the scanners have been implemented, installed on the roads, and they uh, scan the number plate of the vehicles, and they send the e-challan kind of stuff, which is right now happening in India as well. So the research finding, by incorporating heterogeneous demographic, economic, land use, and mobility data, these approaches reduce demand projection errors by up to 40% compared to prior methods. For traffic management, the research highlights deep reinforcement learning effectiveness in reducing congestion through real-time optimization of traffic signal timings based on traffic volumes. In public transit optimization, neural network forecasting combined with genetic algorithms increased onto on-time performance by 8 to 12%, and passenger throughput throughout by 7 to 11 through AI enabled improvements to schedules, routes, and vehicle assignments. So these are some recommendations for India. Yeah. So in India, basically, in the urban zones, traffic is not uh, in the areas, different areas, traffic is different. In market area, traffic is different. In around the schools and colleges, it is different. The reason behind it is different. So what we can do is we can predict analytics using AI can help analyze traffic patterns, congestion hotspots, and pollution levels and accident prone zone area cities in zones, so that urban planners can design according to the survey, according to the data collected by these AI applications. Then the implementation of smart signals. Then, for example, like in Delhi, if we see in the metro stations, there are the lines of there are the queues for e-rickshaw walas and all this. So we can provide a different lane for e-rickshaw walas so that it will not. Okay. So these are the some recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Samit. We have 1 minute for any questions and answers. You have a question, yeah.
Not a question, but a suggestion. Thanks, Amit. You made a good attempt, but I don't think this is what we expect in a research symposium. This is not a research paper. I think what you should really do is, if you really want to understand how machine learning and these AI can impact, take just one case example, say signal timing optimization. Understand how conventional method and modeling works and how AI and ML works.
Okay.
Do that comparison. That makes a decent research. Yeah. Just a suggestion.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I completely agree. Thank you.
Any other questions? If no, let's thank Samit. So I would like to invite, thank you. I would like to invite Akshay Gupta to talk about their research on service quality assessment of electric buses, a PLS SEM approach.
Very good morning to all. I am Akshay Gupta. I am PhD student at IIT Roorkee, and this work is done by master student. He could not able to come here, so I am presenting his work. So it's a part of his master's thesis. So the title is Service Quality Assessment of Electric Buses, PLSM approach. So basically, in our knowledge, service quality has not been assessed for electric buses till now. This is for as per our best knowledge. So we will try to assess the service quality of electric buses. So these are the some contents. And so the basic introduction is as we all know, for the sustainable development or the UN development goals, we need a sustainable transportation system, that is a public transportation system or green modes. So public buses can serve as a sustainable modes, and so basically these buses serves some specific fixed routes, and there they have been their fixed schedules. So this is just a brief introduction. And so what makes it different for the conventional buses and the electric buses is just their the combustion engine is changed to electric, the electric engine. So these, so basically this is our study area, Nepal. So the student was the international student, he's from Nepal. So we conducted the study in Nepal. So this is a scenario in Nepal. So how the buses are there, the this is in 2022 days we have collected the data. So these are some conventional buses in Nepal. So these just to give you the brief, what are the different buses there. So there are different types of public buses, like some small, some big, and they are very crowded. Some, and the qualities of service quality is not that much good. So I will show you the electric buses. So these are first are the charging stations, and the others, these are the inside environment of electric buses. These are equipped with CCTV cameras, real-time informations, and some facilities for especially able people. So currently in Nepal, what are the current situation in Nepal for electric buses? So there is one organization called Saja Yatayat. So they are providing 40 electric buses there, and one from private Sundar Yatayat. They are operating 4 till now, and they are like in future they are more. They will add more buses to the system. So this is just a current situation there. And what is the need? So basically we will try to see what are the factors which affect the service quality of electric buses, and what are the areas which where the service providers are lacking to provide users what they need. So basically for that we develop our two objective: first to identify the factors which affect the service quality, and second is to assess the impact of overall satisfaction on the service quality. So these are some literature review. I'm not going through that, just we did for the catching the attributes from different literatures. So these are some previous literature. So this is our methodology. So basically first we have selected attributes from literature review, then we visit Kathmandu, the study area, and then the pilot survey. So after doing the 3-step procedure, we select our attributes, then we conducted main survey, then statistical modeling using EFA and PLS-SAM, and then results and discussion. So this is our study area. So basically you can see the first is I am not able to second. So this is the Nepal map, and the yellow one is the Kathmandu area, and the blue one is the bus network. So we have selected around 10 bus stops for our survey locations, and this is the enlarged map of the routes of the buses. So basically the electric buses are not completely riding all over the network, but they are riding on the outer ring road and some of the middle major portion they are riding. So this is the study area, and these are the selected parameters. So we have selected 22 attributes from the literature as well as from pilot survey, and we have segregated them based on our knowledge and the literature in different portions. So we like these are availability of service, accessibility of the service, information, time, reliability, comfort, safety and security. And we also included two other parameters, like perceived like 3 parameter: perceived value, involvement and behavioral intention. So we try to see what are the effects, like these are the personal attitudes of the user. So what are the effect of personal attitudes on the overall satisfaction as well as the service quality on the overall satisfaction. So we use 5-point Likert scale for the collection, and we have like done the sample calculation using Krigslin Morgan equation, and this is give us around 384, that is the sample size. So this is the descriptive analysis. So we have collected data around uh, 388 total samples, and most of the 62% people are male and remaining are female. Similarly, 55% of the age groups is lie between 20 to 29 age group, and similarly these are some demographics details. And what are the descriptive of those collected attributes? So these are some descriptive, the their minimum, maximum, mean and standard deviation. So you can see the frequency and the availability of travel information, related information is quite getting quite low overall satisfaction score for these. And this is like what, after collecting the data, we applied the partial least square structure equation modeling to assess the interrelationship between service quality and the latent variables. So for that we first done the EFA analysis. So 22 variables are extracted into 16 variables into 4 latent variables, namely safety, security, comfort, time, reliability and availability. And the other 2 latent variables are perceived value and involvement. So these are the results of EFA analysis. So this will show you the 4 latent variables. So we have developed 2 measurement model, basically 2 EFA models, like for service quality and for the personal attitude. This is for service quality with 4 latent variables, and it is gave us around 60% of variance explained. Similarly, we developed for personal attitude, and it gives around 62% of the total variance explained. And these are some other statistics which shows our data is reliable enough to go further for SAM analysis. So this is the analysis of partial least square SAM. So we try to check the relationships, what are the factors which affect the service quality most. So you can see here the comfort is affecting highest, so that is zero 0.5, that is SRW, standard regression weights. And then the security and safety and security, and then we see availability and time. So among 4, the comfort are the most affecting the the parameter which is affecting the overall satisfaction. And in the personal attitude, the involvement is found to be more affecting than the perceived value. So these are the different weights are also there for each attribute. So so based on that we can uh, prioritize our uh, uh, criteria which we need to further enhance the service quality. If we see in comfort, you can see that SQ 16 is having the highest weight, so we can first give the priority to this particular factor, so that we can strengthen the service quality of the electric buses. So these are some statistical and results of those, and you can see the all the variables selected are found significant, and the Cronbach alpha and average variance explained, and critical ratios are within the limit, and model is performing well. And these are correlation metrics and other required fit indices. So based on that we come to the conclusion. So we found that the overall satisfaction is affected by service quality as well as the personal attitude. And within service quality, the comfort is affecting the highest level, and in the personal attitude, it is affected by involvement than the perceived value. And based on the service, the assessment, we can provide some recommendations, and these recommendations can be prioritized based on the uh, the weights which we have got from the SEM results. So based on that we can prioritize based on our available budget. So these are some recommendations, the basic recommendation, for safety and security, we can provide a panic button in the additional panic button in buses, and development of apps which can provide real-time information, as well as installation of CCTV cameras. And comfort, for that, availability of spaces, grab handle, better facilities for waiting areas, so lighting inside buses. And like these if there are some old buses, because the comfort is found to be the highest affecting attribute, so if there are some old buses, we can phased out in a phased in a manner to using scrappage policies. And then the accessibility and availability of services, we can provide walking area around, like if we are saying bus stop is having 400 meters catchment area, so we can improve a walking environment within that particular area to enhance the accessibility of that particular bus station. And similarly we can improve the frequency and network coverage. These are some references. Thank you.
Thank you, Akshay. We have some time for questions.
Thanks, Akshay. Nice presentation. So I was just trying to understand. See, you've tried doing this for electric buses. So, what are the specific service characteristics unique to electric buses that you've tried studying through this approach?
Sir, basically, the major difference between electric and conventional buses is the engine. So basically, there is a environmental effect which we have collected from the perceived value and the behavioral intention. So we have included that aspect in the electric buses, as well as there is some condition of electric buses when we are traveling in a conventional buses. So there is some noise of due to the engine, but in electric buses the noise is reduced, and others, like those are maybe the new buses, so people perceive better quality in that. So that those are the major differences.
I mean, will it make a difference if, for example, a new electric bus versus a new conventional bus?
So
Yeah.
for noise, yes, for noise it will definitely make, but for like maybe inside environment or cleanliness, it may not make such difference.
Yeah. Why you chose only electric buses? Why not?
So this is a, like we have chosen both conventional and electric buses. This is a part of the study, so we just presented the electric bus service quality assessment in that, but we have done the both conventional and the electric buses.
So, from these results, can you give any specific implications for planning policy or operation of electric buses that the authorities can use?
For electric buses, like so
What
for
authority? I mean, if they see your paper,
yes.
what is that they can do?
So basically, if from our analysis, it was found that comfort is majorly affecting the service quality. If we improve the comfort level for the passengers, so they will feel the overall satisfaction of the perceived value will get increased, and they try to use public transport more. Maybe the electric buses can catch more ridership to the public buses.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. If there are any other questions, yeah, please.
So, can you repeat it? Fair. No, we have not taken that particular in. We have taken it in a qualitative manner, but we have not taken it as a quantitative manner. In perceived value, the latent variable is we have asked question whether you are getting like what you are paying and what you are getting. We ask them the question regarding that, but exact quantitative assessment we have not done with the fare. No, sir, that part we have not like. So I think, sir, that is from the service provider perspective. So, but we have done for the user's perspective. So that's a different thing. But we have not done that. Maybe it can be done in future scope.
We have a question here. Yeah.
More of a clarification. Very interesting work. I just tend to agree with what Professor Ashish said. What exactly is a differentiating factor user behavior between using electric bus and an ICE bus? That there's a very subtle difference. Most of the users probably may not be knowing as to what would be the experience of riding an electric bus until they have ridden an electric bus. So I think somewhere down the line, we have to take this response with
Okay.
number one. Number two, international literature, obviously, most of the service quality models take a EFA same approach to arrive at, and I'm sure you must have done a lot of literature. I wanted to find out what were the unique findings of your work vis-a-vis what has already been reported. Is there any unique thing which you want to bring to the table?
Sir, for like second question, basically we have involved like include behavioral intention and perceived value, which is very limited assessed in previous literature. So we try to incorporate environmental impact and the behavioral intention of user. So we try to see, because overall satisfaction is not only based on the service quality provided by the bus provider, but also somehow it is related to users perspective, what they think about the environment, what they think about their social norms. So we try to include both of those latent variables like service quality as well as the personal attitude. So this is addition. And regarding first question, that is the borderline, we found some difference in importance of the latent variable. Like in this for electric buses we found comfort to be the most critical one, but for the like conventional buses we found the safety and security is the most critical one. So there are some differences between that both the buses.
But how do you define comfort in this, in your case? Is it the comfortable seating or is it
So
comfortable standing space?
yes, sir, it's the combination of I think five
No,
attributes.
but unless you elaborate it, the users would have
Sir,
different perceptions.
we have asked several questions, and based on the EF analysis we see that those are related to comfort. That's why we named as a comfort that particular latent variable. So the attributes lying within that latent variables are mostly related to comfort, that the seating availability or the cleanliness inside the bus. So those are related to comfort.
Okay, thank you, Akshay. We ran out of time for questions. If there are other questions, you can take them offline.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Next, I would like to invite Aishri to present her work on real-world emissions from BSVI diesel bus in Indian urban and suburban traffic environment.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aishri Borua. I am a research scholar at IIT Hyderabad, working under the supervision of Dr. Pritha and Dr. Digvijay. So the work I am going to present is a collaborative work between an MTech student, Rohan, and me, that is Aishri. So today I am truly honored to stand before you to discuss a topic of utmost importance in our quest for a cleaner and healthier urban environment. So we would like to discuss findings of our research, which is on assessing real-world emissions from BS6 diesel buses in Indian urban and suburban traffic. So firstly, we'd like to understand why do we need real-world emission test. So few of the benefits of real-world emission test include it helps in understanding and addressing India's air quality concerns, especially in urban areas where diesel buses contribute to a significant part to the air pollution. Then diesel buses which are equipped with the latest BS6 technology, whether they meet and adhere to the emission standards or not. Then thirdly, to understand how emissions vary in real world conditions with different traffic characteristics like traffic congestion, and also different vehicle parameters like speed, acceleration. And finally, for accurate measurements which are necessary to refine emission factors. So firstly, I'd like to give a quick overview of the Indian scenario. So Indian driving and road conditions, that is the traffic conditions, are significantly different from other places because of the heterogeneous traffic behavior. There's limited study regarding emissions from BS6 diesel buses. Even not only BS6 diesel buses, there are limited studies on studying emission characteristics from diesel buses. There are no significant data available on the same. ARI has collected some data recently. This delves down to the need of the study. So there's a need for localized study on emission measurement from BS6 diesel buses in Indian urban conditions. So this brings down to the research objectives. So the first objective is to assess real-world emission rates and emission factors from BS6 diesel buses in urban and suburban traffic environments. Secondly, to study the impact of speed and vehicle-specific power on real-world emissions and develop distance-based emission factors. So I'd quickly like to tell what this terms means. So firstly, emission rate is the emission of a vehicle expressed in terms of gram per second, that is, it is expressed in terms of time. Emission factor is the emission of a vehicle expressed in gram per kilometer, that is emission with respect to the distance travel. And vehicle specific power is a metric used in automotive engineering to evaluate a vehicle efficiency. It is the power or energy uses of a vehicle relative to its weight. It is basically expressed in terms of kilowatt per ton. So nextly, this is the methodology that is adopted in the study. So the first step is data collection, where we have selected the test route, then vehicle selection, then we have collected the traffic characteristics data. Then comes the data collection test setup. So we have used PEMS, that is the portable emission measurement system, to measure the vehicular emissions from the tailpipe of the vehicle. Then we have used a GPS data logger. We have basically used a video VBox to measure the vehicle kinematic parameters, that is vehicle speed, acceleration, deceleration, and trajectory data. Secondly, we have gone through the data extraction and pre-processing, then matching the vehicle speed and the emission data, then classifying the test route on the basis of traffic characteristics data into urban and suburban traffic environment, and finally data analysis and result interpretation. So the test route that we have selected is in Hyderabad city. So it starts from IIT Hyderabad to Patancheru, which basically constitutes of the suburban stretch of the road, and then from Patancheru to Miapur, which is the urban stretch. So as we can see, this is the traffic composition of both the roads, that is the urban and the suburban. And as we observe that the number of cars and also heavy duty vehicle in the urban traffic condition is higher as compared to the suburban. Then the instrumentation of the test vehicle. So the figure 8 shows the data collection system, how we have placed the different parts of the equipments on the test vehicle. We have placed a camera, we have placed a video VBox on the dashboard of the vehicle. Then we have equipped the PMS, that is we have used PA gas analyzer on the tailpipe of the vehicle. So we have conducted 20 PMS trips on a test route of 20 kilometers, and the data was collected both during peak and non-peak hours, and a single driver was used throughout the trip. So let me quickly go through the results that we have obtained in our study. Firstly, we have studied the impact of vehicular speed on emission rate. So the emissions that we have considered in our study are carbon dioxide, NOx, carbon monoxide, and hydrocarbons. So as we can see from the 4 figures, as the speed increases, the emission also increases, and also when we compare the urban and suburban, the emissions observed in the urban road is higher as compared to the suburban, which could be contributed to factors such as higher congestion in the urban road, which will result in higher emissions. Then impact of VSP on emission rate. So we have divided the VSP into different bins from 1 to 9. So the VSP bin 3, which basically represents the idling mode condition of the vehicle, that is low power state. From VSP bin 4 to 9, it represents the acceleration phase of the vehicle, and VSP bin 1 and 2 represents the deceleration phase. So from the observation that we have made from this analysis, we have found that emission rates are closely linked to the power demand supplied by the engine. Also, we have seen that with the increase of the acceleration and deceleration, there is an increase in power demand in the vehicle, which results in higher emissions and higher fuel consumption. So we have seen similar pattern for all the 4 emissions. We have seen that with the increase in acceleration and deceleration, the emissions increases. Thirdly, we have studied the impact of speed on emission factor. So as we can see, with the increase in speed, the emission factor decreases when it comes to all the 4 emissions we have considered in our study. And similar to the previous analysis, we have seen that in urban environment, the emissions that we have obtained are higher as compared to the suburban environment. So we have also calculated the average emission factor for each of these gases from our study. So we have observed that the emission factor, firstly for carbon monoxide, it is 1.3 gram per kilometer in urban and 0.61 gram per kilometer in suburban. For HC, it's 0.13 gram per kilometer in urban environment and 0.06 gram per kilometer in suburban environment. For CO2, it's 849.95 gram per kilometer in urban and 429.86 in suburban. And finally, for NOx, it's 8.78 gram per kilometer in urban and 3.95 gram per kilometer in suburban traffic. So finally, we have carried out a comparison of this study with existing studies. Since we have very limited studies that are being carried out on diesel buses in Indian traffic conditions, so we have compared our study to various studies carried out on buses which are compliant to Euro 6 and Euro 5 emission standards. So we can see, firstly, if we see in figure 1, so the CO emission factor that we have obtained in our study, it is higher than few of the emission factor obtained for Euro 6 buses, which could be because of the heterogeneous traffic conditions of Indian roads. And also, we could see that it is quite lower than Euro 5 diesel buses. So similar pattern have been observed for all the four emissions. So finally, I'd like to conclude with few of the findings of the study. So emissions are found to be significantly higher in urban traffic compared to suburban traffic. The test vehicle shows higher emission rates of carbon monoxide, hydrocarbon, carbon dioxide, and NOx with respect to speed. Also, during rapid acceleration and deceleration events, there is higher emission rate as we compared to the low load state, that is the idling condition of the vehicle. And the average emission factors obtained for the study, that is the average of both the urban and suburban, are 1.06 for carbon monoxide, 0.1 for hydrocarbon, 708 for CO2, and 7.64 for NOx. So a few of the limitations of the study are that this study has used only vehicle compliant to the BS6 emission standards. The results may not accurately represent the total fleet, which will consist of vehicles which are compliant to BS4 emission standards as well. So future studies can also include particulate matter, which is also a important contributor to air pollution. And also future studies should include buses which are compliant to the latest BS6 phase 2 emission standards. So these are few of the references. Thank you.
Thank you, Aishri. Wonderful talk. So we have a couple of minutes for the questions. If there are questions from the, yeah, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What is the use of video cameras in that? That is the first question. And second is, have you counted acceleration, deceleration effect, or the emission effect?
Yeah. So when we were comparing for the VSP, while we were calculating VSP, the acceleration, deceleration was also a parameter that we have taken into consideration. So from the VSP analysis, we can understand how it varies with, as I have explained, during sudden acceleration and deceleration events, the emission was increasing. And why we have used video camera? Firstly, with the equipment, that is the video V box, we have the video camera, so that we can see, suppose we are when we are looking at the data and we are finding that there's a sudden fluctuation in the emissions. So to confirm what are the reasons that could contribute to the emissions, we'll look at the video. And we suppose, for example, in areas at intersections or at traffic signals where there is high congestion, we find that the emissions are higher. So we could practically relate the emissions, why they are, which are the factors that are contributing to the emissions. Yeah.
The questions,
Yeah.
please.
Thanks, Aishri, for
Thanks.
nice presentation. It's a good work. Yeah, I think I don't know if you answered this question about camera.
Yes,
What
sir.
did you do with the cameras?
Yes, sir.
How did you use that data in your study? You had installed cameras, isn't
Yes.
it?
No, sir. The camera was installed in the vehicle. So
Okay.
while we were driving the vehicle to see the traffic in front of the
So
vehicle.
did do some, okay, so for
That-
some correlation. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Now,
sir.
in your results, you mentioned that emissions in suburban area is lesser emission rate versus in urban area. Yeah.
Yes, sir. In urban area, it's higher than the suburban areas. Yes.
Why is it so? Is it like at the same speed you're getting lower emission rate in suburban and in urban? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How is that happening? What's differentiating in urban and suburban?
So when we have
situation.
compared in with speed how the emissions were varying, we have divided the speed into bins of like in 10 km/h bins, and we have seen that the emission we have observed for urban was high, which could be contributed as we have seen through the videos and all. It's higher congestion in the urban road when
No,
compared
but
to
what I'm saying is for same speed bin, if you're getting a different emission in urban and suburban,
yes.
then I don't know why that is happening. Is that
Yes.
the case?
Actually, yes, sir, that's the case, but I have to look into it. Like, why is it happening?
Because I mean, I'm not able to,
Yes, sir.
and it's a function of the
Vehicle.
speed
Yes,
and the
sir.
vehicle. So
Yes,
if
sir.
the vehicle is traveling at the same speed, irrespective of whether it's in urban or suburban, the emission should be same, isn't it?
Yes, sir. So I'll look into it.
And the other conclusion you said was that with the increasing speed, the emissions are increasing.
Yes, sir.
So that means when vehicle is idle or at very low speed, the emissions are very low. And
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And so how long it increases? Is there an optimum or a saturation where it goes down or further goes up, or it's a consistent increase?
So in the figure where I have shown only till 70 km/h. So it was increasing till then. But if we go ahead, so when it crosses 90 or 100, in
So
those bits,
generally,
it decreases.
the vehicle manufacturers, tell the users to drive at optimum speed,
Yes, sir.
which, to the best of my understanding, is where the emissions are, optimum from the
Yes,
vehicle.
yes.
So your results are contradicting that.
So, sir, even at very high speed bins in our condition, also the emissions were decreasing. So it was following a decreasing trend.
Yeah, so that was not clear
Yes, yes, sir.
in your
Mhm.
results. Maybe a bit more
Yes,
investigation
yes,
is
sir.
required.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
I was just wanting to what Ashish is saying. You see, there are two conflicting conclusions you're deriving. You are saying urban traffic experiences higher tailpipe emissions compared to suburban, and then you says the test vehicle higher emissions with increasing speed.
Yes.
But then on the other side, you also say that the urban, because of the congestion, is also experiencing higher emission. Are you getting it?
Yes, yes, sir.
I thought probably it's also a function of the fuel consumption, and the classical fuel consumption is the parabola.
Yes, sir.
So what
Yes.
used to be the RUX, road user cost study, we remember 80s study of Dr. Kadiali, that there is an optima of around 50, 55
Yes.
for an ambassador car, at which probably you get the least fuel consumption.
Yes.
And
yes.
that probably also would be a reflection of what would be the tailpipe emission which is going to come.
Yes, sir.
So probably my suggestion would be that you should relate also to the driving cycle and the pattern.
Okay.
Correlate
yes.
your emissions with the driving cycle. What is the driving cycle pattern within the
Yes.
urban and the suburban?
Yes,
And then
yes.
probably you'll get a lot of answers on the emission variation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That's a good suggestion. I'll take care of it. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's welcome our next presenter, Nipun Chaube, who will present his research on private SUV or carpooling, investing impact of choices on Indian roads.
Good morning, everyone. Myself, Nipun Chaube, and I'm a PhD student in ISC. I would be presenting the work Private SUV or Carpooling, investigating the impact of choices on Indian roads. So here's the outline of my presentation. First, I'll introduce the problem. Then I'll talk about the data used in this study and the methodology adopted, and then results and conclusion. So first is we have seen that there are more number of SUVs nowadays on the roads, and the same has been also mentioned in multiple articles that the SUV sales has increased over the last few years. And why this is a concern? So there are two major things. First is the safety aspects. There have been multiple research studies which has mentioned that the SUVs SUV cause more lethal more severe injuries as compared to regular cars, And other thing which we have seen is the current scenario itself. We have a lot more number of cars on the road, which leads to a traffic congestion, which is a big problem in most of the metropolitan cities. And instead of having strategies which can remove the cars from the roads, we are seeing now the smaller cars are being replaced by bigger cars such as SUVs. So the objective of aim of this study is to assess the impact of SUVs on the Indian traffic conditions. Most of the studies which we have seen till now in the case of SUVs were mostly on the aspects of the safety and the emissions, while we try to see the impact on the traffic instead. So the study area for this we have taken is the Central Silk Board junction in the Bangalore region, which is one of the busiest junction in the city. And we have extracted the informations of road geometry, traffic volume, and turning movement counts and traffic compositions for this. Then for the signal phase, we did not had the signal phase timing, so we have used the Webster method to get the signal phase timings. Then we have developed the Vism model, and we have simulated these models and calibrated it for the Indian conditions. So this is the vehicle composition. We got it from the report. So we can see that the car and the two-wheeler has the major portion of the number of vehicles in the junction. So this is the methodology. I've already mentioned about the data collection and model generation. So after we have calibrated it for the Indian scenarios, then we have given the input parameters, and we have simulated the models, and then we have estimated the average speed, average Q, and average delay, and then we have simulated for different scenarios and compare it. Coming towards the scenarios, first what we have done is we have taken a condition where all the cars and SUVs are having the single occupancy. This we have considered as the base scenario for our case. In this, initially we have taken like all the four-wheelers are cars only, and there's no SUV. Then we have taken we replaced 10% of the cars with the SUV, and then 20% of the cars with the SUV. So this was our base scenario. Then we compared the base scenario with a vehicle pooling scenario, where we considered people would be doing the car pooling. So we considered all cars and SUV would have double occupancies. And then another situation where we have considered only SUV to have pooling instead of cars. So the idea behind this was that SUV has a lot more capacity to as compared to regular cars, so it can accommodate more people. So based on this, we have considered the SUV to have a triple occupancy. For all the three scenarios, we have considered that the number of passengers who are traveling through this junction is the same. So when we do the carpooling or SUV pooling, it will reduce the number of cars and SUVs. So based on these scenarios, these are the resultant traffic volume for the four sides of the junctions for all the three scenarios for 0% of SUV considered. So this is the simulation video for this for the base. So this is the base condition where there is no SUVs and all the cars are being considered, and other modes have been considered as same in all the four scenarios. So these are the results. So first is the average Q, where we have seen that in the peak car case. So what we have seen in the case of peak hour, that the base scenario and the SUV pooling scenario has almost similar results for for all the legs, while in the case of a vehicle pooling scenario, we have seen that there's a substantial decrease in the average Q. While in the case of non-peak hour, we can see the decrease in the case of SUV pooling scenario also, and in the vehicle pooling scenario has given the best result, which is like the least average Q in that case, and the base scenario has the highest average Q. Next is the average delay. So in the case of average delay, what we found we have found a similar trend which was there in the case of average Q also, that in the non-peak hour we can see the difference is more as compared to the uh, uh, peak hour case. So what we have seen actually, the traffic volume which is there in the junction is much higher, which has actually resulted that in the case of peak hour, the results are means the SUV pooling scenario and base scenario, the results are almost similar, and in some case it is higher also, like here in this case. While in the case of vehicle pooling scenario, it is a little lower, and in the case of non-peak hour we can see some difference. So now the similar trend has been seen in the case of average speed also, where we have seen that the average speed is highest in the case of vehicle pooling, and the second best is in the case of SUV, and then the base scenario. So to conclude, what we observed, that if we have the vehicle pooling scenario or the car pooling scenario, we can get up to like 3 to 4 minutes of 3 to 4 minutes of delay can be reduced for a 4 kilometer ride. And in the case of SUV pooling scenario, it can be up to like 2 to 5 minutes in this case. Some of the suggestions or policy implication based on this study is that the vehicle pooling, if vehicle pooling scenario, if it should be and vehicle pooling scenario should be incentivized, and adopting higher occupancy vehicles should also be incentivized. Other an important point was, apart from, along with this, we should also discourage buying private vehicles, and especially the bigger vehicles like SUVs. And other strategies along with SUV, we think that other strategies along with vehicle pooling would give better results. Some of the limitations of the study is, one of them is that we considered in this study that all the cars and SUV is are willing to pool the vehicle, but this is not the case in general. So one of the future work could be that to have a probabilistic view, means a probabilistic distribution, that the vehicles are some of the vehicle owners are willing to share the vehicle, and and while others are not. Another important thing is that in the case of pooling, we have considered only that the cars and SUV owners are shifting to the are willing for pooling, and not in the case like some of them may feel that, okay, who are is going by a bus, but if the two employees are one of, so for an example, if there is a company where one of the employees is going through car and other employee is going through the bus, if they want to go together, that is also possible. So and the last thing is that we have done this study on the junction level, while we would like to see the impact at the network level. So thank you.
Thank you, Nipun. If there are questions, please.
Thank you for the presentation. I would like to know what is the SUV size. Basically, there are in the market, there are several types of SUV from mini to high. So, what are the type of SUV you have considered for your study? And one other thing is that, like when we you developed a model in Visim, so you already tell the algorithm that you have to take size of the vehicle, right? Because how because then he can like then the software can understand. So if we already given the dimension in the system, like in the algorithm, so how we can assess the differences? So that is the second question. Thank you.
Okay, so for the first question, we have gone through the currently SUV models which are being there in the market, and based on that, we have taken the dimensions of those SUVs into our model. That is the first one, and the second one. Could you repeat the second one?
Like how, like if we are already giving the dimensions of the vehicle in the system or algorithm, so it will react based on our given inputs,
Yes.
right? So how we can assess the shift or the choice changes uh, in that? That is my
Uh, Change of choice, I could not get.
like for pooling you have 2 occupancy, 3 occupancy. If we are already giving the system that
Mhm.
we want to, like we are already putting the values na in that, so
Yes,
how we
yes.
can say that this is the change? I just want to ask that.
Okay, so the case on the study which we did, what we have given is like if we have double occupancy of all cars and SUVs, then what would happen is a number of vehicles will reduce, and we wanted to see that how much it would impact in the case for the delay or average queue or in the case in our case average speed. So this is what we have observed, that if we have this occupancy, then what would be the impact on the traffic. So we have not given like a choice for now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have room for one more question if there is. Please.
Similar to what what are the probabilistic input for the simulation? Input parameter. What are the input parameter for the simulation model?
Okay, so the input parameters were, as I've mentioned in the starting of my presentation in the data part, that the traffic volumes and the vehicle compositions and all those were input. Here we have not given any probabilistic uh, input.
If you fix the number of seats,
Okay.
then where is the probabilistic input comes in?
Yeah, that is we have not given probabilistic one. We have given fixed seats, that if we do this particular instance.
So you analyze the different scenarios.
Yes, we have analyzed different scenarios, and we have considered that all cars and SUVs are willing to do the carpooling, do the pooling, and that is what we mentioned. I mentioned that that is one willingness of to.
When you say the limitation,
Yeah.
you have to say limitation of the model. That limitation is
Oh, limitation of my study.
of the model.
Okay, limitation of the study.
But
Hmm.
your limitation is very generic limitation. That some people may not willing to share the SUV.
Yes. So.
Not have connection with this model.
Yeah, yeah. So it was with respect to, we have not considered we have considered the willingness as 100%, which may not be the real case. That is what I wanted to
So the
present.
willingness also one of the input.
Yes, sir.
Willingness also one of the input.
Willingness is no. We considered all the cars are doing pooling, which is not in the real case that everyone would be willing to do the pooling. So that is not been taken into account.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Maybe this was the last question. So maybe you can take your questions if you have offline. Let's thank Nipun. The next presenter is Shaurya Mall. She'll be presenting her research on exploring the influence of socio-demographic factors on electric vehicle types preferences.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shaurya Mal from Center for Transportation Systems. Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Shaurya Mal from Center for Transportation Systems, IIT Roorkee. So I'll be presenting on my topic, exploring the influence of socio-demographic factors on electric vehicle type preferences. So my presentation contained introduction, a little bit stats about EVs in India. We'll discuss about the dependent variable and independent variable of this study, and further to methodology, then result discussion and conclusions. So as we all know, that electric vehicles help greatly to lower the tailpipe emissions, and they are seen as since they are reducing the greenhouse emissions and improving the environmental conditions. So the take-up of EVs are increasing rapidly. So that is happening in India also. Norway is already one of the leading countries who's having the maximum share of its fleet as electric, and China is having the largest number of vehicles as electric. So so similar trend we can see in India as well. We already committed to our SDG, there is sustainability goal, 17 sustainability goals, and we already committed to reach India's road fleet up to 30% electric by the year 2030 to reduce its dependency on the fossil fuels. And but despite of all these, we can see like from the data from 2021, the total uh, percentage of electric road fleet is still about 1% that is electric. And even if we see like in terms of the segments like two wheelers, three wheelers, and four wheelers, so if we focus on the segment, the penetration is also not even. We can see a larger penetration in case of three wheelers and two wheelers, and as compared to cars and other light vehicles and buses, this penetration is not even. So that 1% is also not even. So in this study, I intend to study the effect of the socio demographic factors that might be causing the preference of electric vehicles. So it is not like whether they will adopt an EV or not. All the respondents are those who are willing to adopt an electric vehicle, but I want to see the intent, whether they go for a two wheeler, four wheeler, or whether a three wheeler. So this study is having the dependent variable, that is the vehicle type, that is segregated on the basis of the number of wheels. So we are having two wheelers, three wheelers, four wheelers, and this is just a description, but we are not using six wheelers because the respondents were not willing to buy any kind of buses and truck, and the variants in six wheelers for cars are not available in in India. And for four wheelers also, we are excluding the segment of buses and trucks. We are only focusing on cars, passenger cars. So this is our dependent variable. And since we are studying the impact of socio demographic factors, so I have considered 11 socio demographic factors: age, education, gender, whether they hold the driving license, their profession, the ownership of the house, whether ownership of the house is whether they own the house or they live on the rent. The second is the type of the house, whether they live in an high income group housing, a middle income group housing, or lower income group housing. This we have taken as a proxy of income, because people were not willing to share their income, like how much they earn or at what income group they fall, because the respondents tend to be biased to these questions. So we have taken the type of housing that they are having, whether they are living in a LIG, MIG, or a high income group housing. Then we have taken the household structure, because household structure is whether they are having elderly or any kids. So their preference, because we are checking for the preference, whether what kind of electric vehicle they are willing to buy. So it can shift according to the type of their household structure, whether they have an elderly with them or they have a small infants. So and then the experience with an electric vehicle, whether they have been ridden or themselves, or have driven an electric vehicle themselves. So this we have taken as a factor. And then vehicle ownership, like whether they are already having some kind of vehicle at home. It should not be electric, it is only like whether they already have it could be an internal combustion engine vehicle also, whether they have it or not. So the methodology here, we have used backward stepwise MNL model, multinomial logic model, because we are having different groups for the preference of electric vehicle. And it is, we have taken stepwise, it is like a backward elimination in this, because in this we are creating model again and again. We can see from the factors we have identified, then we are going for a stepwise MNL model, and we are checking whether all the factors are significant or not. And if there's some factor which are not significant, then we are dropping the one which is having the least significant factor, then we are checking again. So it is kind of an iterative process, and we are doing it until we have all the factors which are significant. So here are some descriptive statistics, like how according to different factors like age and education preference, gender, how the segment of two wheelers or three wheelers or four wheelers is changing. So these are some descriptive statistics. And from here we can see for the factors such as, sorry, yes, for factors such as the vehicle ownership, we can see the people who are already having one or two vehicles, they are tend to buy EVs more. and it is uniform for all the three segments. So like they are going for it, we can, this shows that the mindset that they're going for it, for like a secondary vehicle, not like a primary vehicle. They are already having the vehicles at ICVs at home, and then they are switching for electric. And from here, we'll then we went for our next model. That was, this is the our final model after 7 iteration. We started at 11 factors. After 5 iteration, 4 were drop, and the total we are having 7 factors, which all are significant, like education, driving license holder, and profession, ownership of the house. So from here we can see like 4 factors, which were like age, education. This is the result of the first first iteration, in which all the factors were taken. So we can see like age, education, household, household structure, and vehicle ownership are not coming significant. From here also we can see the type of house and ownership of the house was also not coming significant. But since we have done stepwise backward elimination, so we can see we are removing one factor at a time, so they are also influence of the factors. At the later stage we can see the ownership of the house and type of house, which were coming insignificant earlier. When we are taking all the factors, were coming significant at the later stage, because they are the we can see the factor that was uh, ownership of the house, no, category of the house, it is still insignificant for our later model. So it might have been influencing the other factors, that were the type of house and household structure. Because of that, they were coming insignificant earlier. So from the conclusion, we can from here we have seen the category of house, that is like whether they are having a single story house, or it is an apartment type house, because it can if impact their space and the availability, whether they are going for an EV or not, because the parking space and the charging is a problem at that time. It is not a significant factor. However, it was influencing the factor how ownership of the house and the type of house at its earlier stages, because that's why they were not coming significant in the first model, but they were coming significant at the last iteration. And from here we can see like the gender, age, category of the house, and the vehicle ownership. So they were not playing a significant role, means they are not coming significant in the type of, like, the preference of electric vehicle. It doesn't include that these factors do not influence the adoption of electric vehicles. They might affect the adoption of electric vehicle, but they do not influence the preference of the electric vehicle. Because from our previous study, we can say, like, we can take the example of gender. So yes, so in gender we can see the total influence, like the female are comparatively lower to adopt an EV, but the type preference, like maximum of females are going for two-wheelers, so same is happening for males as well. And second preference for females is four-wheeler, and same is happening in the case of males as well. So it means gender is not influencing the type of preference of a vehicle, but they do influence the adoption intention. So from here also, from these descriptive statistics, we can see, like, for type of housing. So people who live in HIG and high income group housing and middle income group housing, they are more tend to buy for an four-wheeler and two-wheelers. However, for the people who are living in low income group housing, they are maximum inclined to buy an three-wheeler. So that was from the descriptive statistics. So government can push schemes in which they are pushing these segments, like the four-wheelers and two-wheelers, for middle or higher income groups, and they can push uh, the other segment, that is the three-wheelers, for lower income groups. So these are some references. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaurya. Maybe we can have time for one or two questions. Yeah, please.
Hello. Yeah, there were 11 factors which you said were considered.
Yes, sir.
I feel there is one factor which is important.
Yes, sir.
This is about the number of kilometers a person would travel in his own vehicle. The average number of kilometers.
Yes, sir.
Do you consider it as an independent variable?
Yes, sir. I haven't considered it, but I will take an account for that.
And second thing is about the cost difference between an EV and a normal vehicle.
Yes, sir.
That would be maybe from a smaller portion of the decision matrix. But first thing is, I think, is very relevant.
Sir, actually, cost I haven't considered because we are talking about all the vehicles are here are electric only. They are three-wheeler, two-wheeler, and four-wheeler. So for that, I have taken like instead of income, I have taken housing type, like whether they live in lower income housing or higher income housing group. A kind of housing, so it can be a proxy for the income. So that is the factor that is influencing their likability to buy a type of EV, whether they're going for like a four-wheeler, three-wheeler, or a two-wheeler. Actually, the respondents are all those who are already willing to buy an electric vehicle. So respondent who are not willing to buy an electric vehicle, we have not considered them in this study.
Thank you. One more question, if you, yeah, please.
While you're doing your research,
Yes, sir.
have you taken that billing bylaws into consideration, like for charging points, different categories of charging points for these vehicles and all? No, have you taken that billing bylaws? No, where you have for electric vehicles also you need some.
Sir, actually, from the housing type, it is like not like the MIG, LIG. The other that was the whether the ownership of house. It is because of that only, because in the ownership of house, whether they are having they are on the rental basis or they are own the house. So this also influence the freedom to charge, like because most of the time people are influenced about this. And the other factor is the type of house. Sorry, it was some other factors. I'll just check. So it was like whether they live in a multi-story building, apartment style building, or a single story their own house. Because in the apartment they might not be having the like freedom to charge or their vehicle or park their vehicle. So that I have taken like a proxy to it, not the exact variable I have taken, but I have taken included it in the proxy for that.
Thank you, Shaurya. Let's thank all our speakers today for sharing their research in this session, Electric and Smart Mobility. Yeah, the session is over. Thank you. Thank you for attending.
Thanks all of you. And wait a minute. We have a small token of appreciation for our chairperson today.